Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughan Manor. And today, it is Wednesday, but I don't have anything comic book related today. Usually on Wednesdays, I do Epic Comic Book Wednesdays along with Steve Donoghue on his channel. But Steve Donoghue's house is being destroyed by construction, and as far as I can tell, only one room remains at Steve Donoghue's house, and I'm not even sure if it has a roof. So he's not able to get videos out as regularly as he would wish, and so we're holding off on Epic Comic Book Wednesdays until his home is rebuilt. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I had to come up with something to talk about today. So I have this crazy question, which seems like an insane question, but here it goes. Can a person have too many books? Like I said, it seems like a crazy question. Of course not, right? But can a person have too many books? And I'm asking you, the viewer, that question, what you feel about that question, and perhaps more importantly, how do you know when you're starting to get too many books? How do you know when you've reached that point? I bring this up because it's been on my mind for a certain reason. There were a number of years ago, for my job, I had to enter a gentleman's house. And this gentleman loved books, even more than I do, apparently, because this guy had books everywhere. You know the old joke, it's not hoarding if it's books. It's hoarding if you have too many books. I learned that on that day. So I was looking around this guy's place, and you could look down the hall, and there's books lining the walls of the hallway. So you just have this like little space down the hall to actually walk in. And in the living room, there were bookcases there. You could see them, but they were hidden behind multiple stacks of books that came out. There were stacks and stacks, tall stacks of books all along the walls, covering the windows. I mean, it was a lot of books. I mean, so many that, this guy, if you wanted to get to a certain book, right, you couldn't do it. And this guy was an older gentleman. So, there were books there that he's never going to find, and he's never going to read again. He can't even get to them. And I remember thinking when I walked in, wow, this guy needs a Kindle. That's the first thing I thought. I didn't say that because it would be impolite, but I remember that. And I remember looking at the wall and seeing the bookcase back there and these stacks of books in front of the bookcase. And you're like, what's even on that bookcase? Who knows? But I remember that. And I thought of that again the other day when I was sitting here and I was making a video and I had finished the video or something, and I glanced over there to the bookcase over there on that wall, which I'm not going to show you. But there's a bookcase over there on that wall. And in front of that bookcase are stacks of books. And I was looking at it and I thought, oh my goodness, am I becoming that guy? In 20 years, is that going to be me? It's not, because I live with the lady of the manor, and she would not allow that. She barely allows this. But it could, if I were on my own, would that be me? Would I be some old book hoarder who couldn't even get to all of my books? So he definitely had reached a point where he had too many books. I think that's pretty clear. When you start having books lining the hallways so that you have to go sideways to get down the hall, that's too much. And at what point do you get there? Now, obviously, I'm starting to get there. I've probably arrived, and that was my realization as I was sitting here looking over there, and I'm like, that memory just struck me, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm there. Now, I'm not the only booktuber who has this problem. As an example, here's CriminOlly about 5 months ago. Handsome CriminOlly. This is CriminOlly now. Now you can see this guy, he's got a real problem, you know. Somebody needs to do an intervention with CriminOlly, I think. That's just... But, you know, he's not the only one. Now, sometimes you can get so many books that it's actually a physical danger. Look at Shawn D Standfast over there. He's fortunate that there are not earthquakes so much in Britain, as far as I know. There might be, but as far as I know, they're not that common, because he could be crushed to death. I mean, it could be all over for poor Shawn. So, you know, I'm not alone. But, and here's the thing also. I don't mind ebooks at all, right? I like reading ebooks. So why do I have so many physical books still? And why do I keep buying physical books when I could just get ebooks, ebook versions of them, particularly for books that I'm never going to read again, or I might just read one more time, or I don't actually need a fancy edition or a physical edition of them. It's a question. Now, there are some books, of course, that there are no ebook versions of them. And I collect old science fiction paperbacks. A lot of those, there are no ebook versions of them. As far as I know, this one, for example, Science Fiction Terror Tales, which is a great book edited by Groff Conklin. This one, as far as I know, there's no ebook version of it. So it makes sense to have a physical copy of this. However, there are other books like The Monster Men by Edgar Rice Burroughs. You can get an ebook version of this, but you know, the physical version's so cool. And I just like that old stuff. And there are other cool things, you know, I mean, that's just cool. So I like the old sci-fi paperbacks, so I would continue to get those anyway. But there are a ton of books that I don't need. And I have spoken often about unhauling, and it never seems to happen. I can't figure that out. Why don't the books that I don't need just vanish? I don't know. They don't, though. And so I'm going to have to make an actual effort to go through my books and actually unhaul. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to get rid of some books, especially if books just keep arriving in the manner like they seem to. It's a question, you know, how do I go about doing that? And so I need to do it, though. I need to do it. And since I don't mind ebooks, perhaps a lot more of my book purchasing should go in that direction. Now, I don't want to get into the argument of what's better, physical books or ebooks, because obviously both of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. I obviously like physical books better, just as beautiful objects, and I think they do have some real advantages. But as far as the actual reading experience of just reading a story, it's not too different, really. So yeah, those are just some of my ponderings. This is what you get when I don't have comic books to talk about on Wednesday. I gotta talk about something, so here I am musing on this. I will shut up now. I've probably gone on long enough. But tell me about your thoughts. Are you in a position where you have too many books or are getting there? And what has your solution been if you do find yourself or have found yourself in a position where you have too many books? Do you just go the ebook route and save space that way? Save physical space by doing that? Yeah, let me know. Because I got to figure it out, man. I got to figure it out. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.